Hello everybody, this is Reviews and More, back with a quick pen review. As always, if you find this helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. So these are from Pilot. They are called Juice Ups and they are in 0.3 millimeters, so very thin. These are obviously more of a Japanese exclusive, although they do have them on Amazon in the Americas as of right now. They're about $14.50 for this pack right here. And this is a 10 multicolor pack, and there you see the ink right there. It's water-based according to the website, although it does look like gel ink, which is kind of strange to me. But it's marketed as water-based, and it writes very smoothly, even for having such a small pen nib. So here you see me writing, goes into focus eventually because I'm not terribly good at doing these things. But as you see me write, you notice that it doesn't really break. There's not any major skipping going on. We'll do a very close-up view with a macro lens just so you can see any pulling or hollowing out of the writing lines. It dries very quickly. I sometimes do a counting test when some of this stuff goes on thicker, but because of the size of the nib and how just thin the needle point is on that, it didn't make much sense because it dried so terribly quickly. So here you see me do some up-close writing with the red again. And again, you'll notice that there isn't any skipping going on. You can't really see anything visibly. A little bit right there maybe, but for the most part, it looks very smooth, especially at any kind of distance or typical reading or writing distance. Now these are priced out at $14.50 on Amazon, so you might be able to find them cheaper elsewhere, but because of the size, these are typically marketed more in Japan than the US because their character and their alphabet is obviously much more intricate, so having these very small, narrow needlepoint pens is sometimes a necessity when you're doing that style of writing. However, as I said, they do sell these in the United States via Amazon, so you can grab these things. And if you're someone who likes to write things very small, or maybe you even have like a kid or a student who enjoys writing very small, and as a result they can't have those big 0.7s or even 0.5 millimeter heads, that might be an issue for you. And these might be a good solution to make the writing legible and not have to change the writing habit that you might have in your life or someone you love is experiencing. As you can see, as long as this thing stays in focus, the colors are very bright and vibrant. They look very much like this to the naked eye under regular lighting. They are very easy to see. There's only one that's kind of a distinction without a difference, and that's going to be that very deep dark blue towards the end. That looks almost black, but you can tell it's blue when compared to, like, say, like a jet black marker tip. The Juice Up series was originally released back in like 2016 in Japan, so it's been around for a good while. It's almost been a decade. But the United States, because we just tend to focus more on the G2 pilots and a lot of the basic stuff we get here, and stationary is not quite as big a deal here in the States as it is in other parts of the world. And also, again, we have a fairly easy to write with language. The letters are fairly simple, lots of circles, lots of lines. We don't have characters the way they do in Japan, China, Korea, those places. So the result is we just don't need really teeny tiny pen needle tips, but they are very nice to write with. They're a little scratchy, but they come out smooth. So you don't have to worry about losing lines or too much breakage or some skipping that you might have with other brands. And here we see the up close. This is what it looks like. You can see a little bit of skipping on that one red zigzag I did, but it faded away fairly quickly. And the other ones you don't see the same example. So up close, there's very little to write home about as far as flaws. You see a little bit of, I'm going to say, inconsistent at that close zoom that I'm doing here, but you can't see with the naked eye. So all this that you're seeing here that might look like flaws or over lightening, or maybe there's just not enough pigment being laid down on the paper, that you can't see with the naked eye. So it's very consistent. You don't see a lot of pooling, even with the zigzag tops and bottoms. It's very consistent overall, which is kind of impressive considering that in order for these pens to work, they got to let some ink out at a fairly regular flow, because the needle tip is so very small. At the end of the video, you'll see a side-by-side comparison of a Pilot G2 at 0.7 millimeters to these 0.3. It is substantial and tiny. It really kind of shows just how different and how small these needle tip pens are. And I believe we'll see that in just a moment right now. So there's the 0.7 millimeter G2 Pilot standard pen they sell in the United States. Same brand, same company. So everything is identical as far as the workmanship, theoretically. And then you get the Juice Up next to it. Now I'll take a still picture in just a moment, but just notice how different that is. That is so much tinier. It's not cone, it's a needle tip instead of being a cone style ballpoint pen. And when we get real close to it, you can just see just how tiny the ball is on that pen. You can almost barely get it into focus. It's just so small. And here we see a still of the side by side. You can just see how tiny that thing is. It almost doesn't make sense how the little ball bearing in there is able to hold in place because it's so tiny. But overall, the pen feels very robust. I didn't feel like I could bear down on it fairly well without any real risk. But the ink flows very smoothly, so there wasn't really a need to bear down or feel like I had to move it quickly. Again, for being 0.3 millimeters, it still feels fairly smooth. But if you're the kind of person who likes that scratchy feeling when you write, you'll love these especially, because it's definitely not as smooth as like a G2 Pilot at 0.5, but it's not going to be. It's not designed for that. So overall, really happy with the product, and for about a buck 45 per pen, and they are fairly substantially well filled, I would say this is a good deal. And also it's good for someone who's artistic, likes to doodle in their notes, that kind of stuff. A great little gift. And the packaging it comes in is fairly robust and could be used as packaging in your desk if you chose to do so. It doesn't fall apart. It doesn't come in like a blister pack like G2 Pilot pens sometimes do. So overall, really happy with the product, and thank you for watching, and have a great day.